are you doing?
I don't know, just getting old.
I'm ahead of you.
Not by much.
How about happy Father's Day?
I know, and I just.
Ready for summer again already.
Well,
Terrible.
Yeah, I know.
we're going to. Perfect.
Every day is just chaos, so I get it.
All me pump, it's higher than tires. Yeah. That for cars in the back of the car, I think it is. Nothing out of the ordinary.
Yes. I will work it out. Yes. Oh, yes. So if that was the case, I would call it. Please don't do that.
There it is. No. Yeah, go ahead. So.
Call this meeting to order. Would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Take the roll.
Fitzgerald, Mosby,
Yes.
Cody, Smith, Spencer,
Here.
Hand,
Here.
Roy,
Here. All right, we have no one on the public forum. So the only item of business we have today is a council discussion on liquor licenses and local ordinances. So this is the only way legally that your council can meet and have a discussion on any type of item that has to do with what we're talking about today because of the sunshine law. Now, you can have a meeting with two aldermen and the mayor, and that does not violate the law. I do that quite regularly with the alderman, for example, I get the first ward alderman together, we'll talk about first ward issues, and then next day I'll get the second ward alderman together, do that. But if we all want to get together as we are today and talk about an issue, we have to do this in the open, call a special meeting, is what we did. And the purpose of this meeting today is, we've got the attorney here today, we've done some research, and we're talking about the liquor licenses and ordinances with the city. So with that, we have, Ryan, you want to start off with anything? Or we want to do a little history on this?
Let's talk a little history first, and we'll get into specific questions.
Okay. Well, I asked Richard earlier today that, he's one of the former mayors, if has there ever been a number of liquor licenses that you know of where we've had something in writing that they said there's only this many?
Nope.
Yeah. And what I remember, because I used to go to a lot of the meetings and so forth, and there'd be a lot of discussion and so forth. And I remember the former mayor, Bobby Amber, would say, no, we're holding it to 12, or it was 11 or 12, they didn't want to bring one up, and there's always a thing, we're going to get too many in town. Well, and then as the city grows, we get other restaurants in and so forth and so on, Now, we had 14, and now we have 17. So I want to just briefly go through how we went from 14 to 17. The first one was the Grafton Winery, and they wanted a Class A license for a long time, but because they didn't want to apply, they're just waiting. So what happened was that when the Fin-In couldn't hold their license anymore, they couldn't pay for it, we carried them for a little while, but finally at the point we had to pull it back. So that license became available, and the winery picked up that Class A license. The next one was for the Southern Coastal Cuisine, and that was just a transfer when Brad bought the grocery store. That had a Class A package license with it. And then the last one was Fountain Hill Seafood Steak and Restaurant, and that was, again, a new restaurant came in town. And all of these liquor licenses, they go before the council for approval. So it's not like, even though I am the liquor commissioner and I can, follow the rules of the state and everything, we do have those come before the council for approval. So that's where we're at with 17. So that's the history. Richard, did I miss anything on that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So with that, any questions from the alderman to start off, or we'll let the lawyer do maybe a couple things he wants to talk about?
Generally speaking, just going to the history, obviously in our ordinances, there is a limit pursuant to the ordinances of 14, and as the mayor pointed out, that over time there's been several added to that number. Generally speaking, the state statutes have specific requirements that different establishments have to meet for that Class A liquor license. Under the circumstances, it really falls on the city council to make that decision as to whether or not they want to agree to extend that amount of licenses. There's no restriction on the amount that a municipality is specifically of the size of Grafton that restricts our ability to increase that number. Pursuant to our ordinances that are currently in place, if there's certain requirements that we have to meet, and there's criteria that are outside necessarily of the ordinances that kind of go back to kind of specific reasons why a council may or may not grant that license. And they're rather specific. And I don't know if we necessarily want to get into specifics, but one important thing to keep in mind is adult cups. There's a specific ordinance within the city that does not allow any Class A liquor license or any liquor license holder, for that matter, to authorize or in any way knowingly allow someone to leave the premises with alcohol. It can't be sold and be transferred off the premises. Now that doesn't obviously apply to the gas station, for instance, but everything they sell is closed. It's not allowed to be open on the premises. There's no open liquor involved. That packaged liquor, as it's called, is sold to the individual. They put it in their car. They're not, by law, not open until they get home and get to the place where they're at. Under those circumstances, I think that we'd be able to take any specific questions with regards to this situation. Mike, if you have anything to
No, I mean, any of the aldermen have a question?
Brian, you mentioned that was, did you look into, were there any seating requirements or?
Well, and this goes a lot towards, not necessarily seating requirements, but having mechanisms in place that are able to allow a establishment holder to control the liquor that they serve to patrons, being indoor seating, being some way to control who's coming in and out. You know, if we have just an open forum, our ordinances also don't allow anybody to publicly walk down the street. Now, I'm sure that we understand that happens under certain circumstances where somebody leaves and it's hard to control that, but at the same time, where we have knowledge of the specifics of an establishment where it's just open to violating our own ordinances, we have to be mindful of that.
But yet we have other venues such as selling beer, which is on the water, which is outdoor. And the ability to contain.
And that's under that's under, yeah, special,
Right.
special license for the day to do that in an outdoor setting.
Right, those are more geared towards special event licenses. And so under those circumstances, they have significantly different rules than Class A liquor license. Class A liquor license is essentially I don't want to say it's a free-for-all, but it's, hey, you can sell liquor, you can sell it all in this way, but there's just a specific manner in which it has to be controlled. And that absolutely falls upon the establishment itself. And a lot of that goes to how many employees we have, what kind of restrictions we're able to put on it based upon the establishment itself. And a lot of that goes towards the site. What kind of things does that site have that allow an owner to restrict that liquor that puts us at ease about that we're not violating our own statutes by giving this person a liquor license. There's a specific site that just no way to absolutely control what happens once you sell that liquor. That creates a problem for the council, for the city.
Is it correct in my understanding that it also allows for gambling machines?
It does. The Class A liquor license, generally, I believe under the gambling statutes that you're all required to have a liquor license in order to get a gambling license. And so once that Class A liquor license is issued, that establishment has met at least some of the criteria to get a gambling license.
And Alderman, you're all familiar with the different types of classes of liquor licenses. Class A, for example, as we know, we're talking about the Class B, entitles a licensee to make sales of alcoholic liquor, including beer, consumption on the premises, open for less than 4 months per calendar year. And there's a Class C, which entitles the licensee to retail sales of beer and wine for consumption on the premises where sold, or in original packages or containers for consumption off-site premises. And then Class D, where the entitles a licensee to sell beer, alcohol, liquor for retail or consumption off the premises where sold. And then Class E is a special permit that we just brought up, Jim, for Witches on the Water, which entitles them to make retail sales of beer and wine, allows for consumption of alcohol on city property for special events approved by the city council not to exceed 90 days in 1 calendar year. And then, of course, the fees are down below that in your packets that you saw. Do we have any other questions?
And I think that we discussed also
I thought that was mine.
the
We all have the
ability
same
to
ring.
create a boutique license, that's not an option.
No, under the state statute, so the classes of licenses are actually dictated by state statute. And a municipality does not have the ability to create additional restrictions upon those classes that are in conflict with state classifications. Because at the end of the day, it is a state liquor commission. Even though we are able to somewhat control our liquor licenses, we are still subject to state statutes with regard to the classes themselves, and whether or not we can create essentially subsets of the classes.
Other questions?
So the paper you gave us
Mr. Mayor, it's got the table in here, it says the number of licenses that are authorized.
Correct.
Have we ever amended that? Because obviously we have more than what's.
Go ahead.
I have talked to, American Legal Publishing, they're the ones who do our ordinance book. I've sent this out probably 3 times, and I plan to call them again.
Okay.
It's in the process, Russ. They have a long backlog, but yes, we've started that. We hadn't done that process. Other questions?
So we have clear information available to people of what the requirements are for controlling, or what would be required to do.
All of our ordinances are online, and anybody can come in and get a copy, ask for a copy, and we'll print them a copy, yes. And Peggy, I mean, when they, obviously when they fill that out, she works with getting all the proper paperwork and everything, the insurance, the dram insurance, and everything else. That's good. No other questions, comments?
I'll go back to the number again, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
I think, as I understand, there are some municipalities, not necessarily even in Illinois, where there's a hard, fast number. And once that quota is met, until somebody either dies or gives up a license, there will never be another license issue. And so with us, it seems like we got a number established, but I guess we can come to the council and apply.
Each one- They can apply, right, because what that does is, if you put a hard and fast number on it, then you're basically stymieing growth.
Absolutely.
So anybody that's looking at that is gonna say, if you have a brand new restaurant, for example, that they say, well, there's no liquor license available, so I'm not gonna go there, I'm gonna go to someplace else. But each one, though, is not just willy-nilly. We're not here to just pass those out. That's why the council is here, to review all of these, because you're out there talking to your constituents. Up in first ward is gonna be probably different than down in second ward and the third ward, so that's why we get all the comments to come in. Any other discussion, comments? All right, well, thank you all very much for this. If you have any, and at any time, if anybody, even in the audience or online listening, if you have questions, you're always welcome to come into City Hall, pick up the phone calls. If we're busy, we'll set up a time to come in and have you talk with us on it. Peggy's very knowledgeable on it. She's been doing this. We got all the details and things, show you how to do the packets and everything. So it's just an open book. And that's why we're talking today in the open, because we don't do this in the dark or because they got the sunshine law, which is a good law. All right, so with that, may I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Take the vote.
Mosby,
Yes.
Smith, Spencer.
Yes.
Hand,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Aye.